University of Denver's university libraries, including the Music Library and the Anderson Academic Commons, are a very well-resourced information environment with about 4.4 million books and media titles and access to nearly 1,000 research databases. However, there still may be times when you need access to something we do not have. When that happens, we have two systems for borrowing material from other libraries: Prospector and Interlibrary Loan. This video will describe Prospector and Interlibrary Loan and how to use them to find and access material that you need. First, Prospector. Prospector is a consortium of academic and public libraries throughout Colorado and also including the University of Wyoming at Laramie. It was first created in 1999 and has continued to develop in size and services since then. Where DU's collection has around 4.4 million items, the combined collections of the different institutions in Prospector contain around 30 million items. You can borrow books through Prospector for 6 weeks at a time, but they cannot be renewed. Media such as DVDs or CDs can be borrowed through Prospector for 1 week at a time, also with no renewals. Prospector items are borrowed through the Prospector catalog. You can access the Prospector catalog at encore.coalliance.org. Or you can just go to the DU Library website at library.du.edu and click on the Prospector link at the bottom of the page. Either way you do it, you will arrive here at the Prospector search interface. There's also a legacy interface to the Prospector catalog available, if you like, by clicking on Classic. Let's imagine that we're searching for Willie Apple's book, The Notation of Polyphonic Music. Perhaps all of DU's copies are checked out and you need to get it from another library. We enter the author's name and a characteristic word from the title as search terms in the Prospector search box and click on the search button. You'll see that multiple listings for the book appear. This is typical in shared catalogs like Prospector and results from slight differences in catalog records from different institutions for the same title. We can click on any one of these for a full record of the title. We'll choose the one that says 5 libraries have this title. This takes us to the full record with more detailed information. This tells us the libraries that hold the title, which in this case are Auraria, Colorado College, Regis, University of Northern Colorado, and UC Boulder. There is some of the usual information you expect to see in a library catalog record, and a list of copies in these 5 institutions with the location and status of each. This helps us determine whether a copy is available for borrowing. It looks like there are plenty of copies available, so we scroll back up to the top and click the button marked Request It. This opens a form in a pop-up box that asks us what institution the book should be sent to. For DU, we scroll down until we see Alliance, University of Denver, and click that one. We click the Submit button and then are asked for our name and DU ID number. Note that we're not asked to authenticate into an account with a passcode, but only to identify who is making the request. After entering our name and ID number, we need to select a delivery location, whether we want the book delivered to the main library, the law library, or the music library. That's all we have to do, and then click Submit. Prospector tells us that our request has been received, and we will get an email when the book arrives at our chosen delivery point. A Prospector courier drives a regular route around the state, picking up items from one institution and dropping them off at another. You can expect an item to arrive within 3 to 5 days. There is a useful shortcut to the Prospector catalog inside every item record in the DU catalog. Let's say we're looking for the same Willie Apple book in the DU library catalog. And by the way, yes, this is the same Willie Apple who is responsible for the Harvard Dictionary of Music, where we first read about musicology in the second week of class. Now, this is not hard to find in our catalog, searching the same way we did in the Prospector catalog. But let's say, again for the sake of argument, that all our copies are checked out. Clicking on the Details link opens a panel with some information for the book, and on the right, a link that says Find in Prospector. Clicking on this link opens a search in the Prospector catalog in a new window. From this point, we can follow the same steps we did before when we began our search in the Prospector catalog. Even though Prospector allows us to access a combined 30 million items or so, there may be times when we need something that is not in any Prospector library. This is in fact not unusual in music research, where we often find ourselves looking for obscure editions of little-known composers. Let's imagine we're looking for the score of Cendrillon, an operetta by the turn of the 20th century composer Pauline Viardot. A search in Prospector on Viardot and Cendrillon returns a handful of recordings but no scores. This is where we turn to another system of borrowing between libraries, this one with global scope. This is where we use interlibrary loan. Interlibrary loan, or ILL, is a well-established system of borrowing between libraries that has been used for more than a century. It was first conceived in 1886 as a system to share resources between the University of California at Berkeley and the California State Library. Over the decades, and even generations, it has steadily increased in scope and automated efficiency. Originally just for books, interlibrary loan was expanded long ago to include media, as well as journal and magazine articles. Now we can locate materials in libraries around the world and borrow them through interlibrary loan. Unlike Prospector, where we submit an automated request online, interlibrary loan is a mediated process. That means you submit an ILL request to our institution, where a staff person tries to locate the item in another institution and obtain it for you. The loan period for an ILL request varies unpredictably because it depends on how long the lending institution is willing to allow. Institutions charge each other fees for these loans, which is not the case with Prospector. If you submit an ILL request through the public library, you will have to cover these fees. Here at DU, the university covers the fees for you. Because the process is mediated, and because materials may be shipped to you from far away, usually through the standard postal service, ILL requests can take longer to fulfill than Prospector requests. But the reach of ILL is global, while the reach of Prospector is only regional. There are a number of routes to access interlibrary loan. We'll look at a few. WorldCat is a global database of library holdings that is linked to interlibrary loan services. You can access WorldCat by typing WorldCat into the database search box on the library homepage. You will see two options. The top one is WorldCat through First Search, a subscription version the library pays for. The bottom one is worldcat.org, the free open web version of WorldCat. It has a simpler interface, so we'll start with that one first. To find the score of Viardot's operetta Cendrillon, we start by entering Viardot and Cendrillon in the worldcat.org search box. There is an advanced search interface, but in most cases we don't need it. WorldCat returns a variety of search results. We can narrow down our search using these facets on the left side of the page, but you might have noticed that the item at the top of the list is a score, so we'll just click on that one. This takes us to a full record for the item in WorldCat. Very often you'll see multiple records for the same item in WorldCat, just as we did when we explored Prospector, but in this case there is only one. Scroll down the WorldCat record to where it says Find a Copy in the Library, and you will see a list of libraries that have this in their collection. For some items you'll see pages and pages of libraries, but this is an unusual item, so there are only 6. This list of libraries in a WorldCat record is ranked by proximity to the user, so the one at the top is the closest. If DU had this item, you would see University of Denver at the top of the list. If DU does not have it, but another library in Prospector does, you will see it at the top of the list. The institution we see at the top of the list is University of Louisville, meaning there is no copy closer than Kentucky. Prospector is not an option, but ILL is. Now, if you access worldcat.org from the DU campus, you'll see this link that says Make an ILL request. Clicking this link takes you to the login for DU's ILL request form. Log in to the ILL request form as shown. You may have to log in twice. Now examine the form and you will see that the information from the WorldCat record you selected has been imported into the request form for you. Check to make sure it is correct. Then click Submit at the bottom. When your ILL request arrives, you will get an email and you can pick it up at the main library lending desk. One problem with using WorldCat this way is that if you access it from outside the DU campus, it will not show you the link to make an ILL request through DU. So if you do this kind of search from home or another location, you might want to use the first search version of WorldCat. This is located above the one we just explored. The small DU icon next to the name indicates it is a DU library subscription, while the globe icon next to the second one indicates it is an open World Wide Web resource. First Search WorldCat searches the same database but has a more complicated search interface with different options, some of them more powerful. For our purposes, the main difference is that it will retain a link to make an ILL request even when accessed from off campus. Let's use the Basic Search tab and search on the same two terms we used earlier, Viardot and Cendrillon. This version of WorldCat ranks results differently, so the score we're looking for is now number 7 in the results list. When we examine the full record, we have to click a separate link to reveal the list of holding institutions. However, this is the same score, and University of Louisville still comes to the top of the list. The important thing here is that there is a link to make an ILL request, and this link will persist even if you access the WorldCat record from off-campus. This link takes you to the login screen for DU's ILL request form, just as before. After you log in, the form is auto-filled for you. The interface looks different from when you accessed it from First Search, so that can be confusing. However, it carries the same information and is submitted to the same system. All you have to do is click Submit your request and wait for your item to be delivered. I mentioned earlier that ILL can also be used for journal article delivery. As many databases as DU has, there are occasionally journal articles we cannot provide directly. Interlibrary Loan has a way to request those too. Google Scholar provides a good example of how to generate an ILL request for an article. You can access Google Scholar by clicking this link on the library website. Without going into details, Google Scholar is an alternative way to search for scholarly literature using Google's state-of-the-art search technology. Let's imagine I chose to pursue my research on Pauline Viardot in Google Scholar. I enter the composer's name in quotes, telling Google that I want to search the words together as a phrase, and I get a list of search results. One of them, an article entitled Six mazurkas de Frédéric Chopin transcrites pour chant et piano par Pauline Viardot, is about Viardot's transcriptions for voice of Chopin's instrumental music. This looks very interesting. I click here on the More icon, and it reveals a link for an interlibrary loan request. The link takes me to a page of access options for the article, indicating that I can probably access it through JSTOR. However, if that does not work, there is also a link at the bottom of this page to open an ILL request. Clicking on this link takes me back to the login page for the ILL request form. After I log in, the form is again auto-filled for me. I submit this request, and when the article is delivered, I'll be emailed a link to download the PDF of the article. Finally, we should take a look at making an ILL request the old-fashioned way. This link on the right side of the library webpage gives me direct access to the login page where I can access my interlibrary loan account. Here, I can make a request for an article, a book chapter, or any other kind of text, including the score of a specific piece from a collected critical edition. In this case, I will have to enter all the information manually, but after that, it's handled like any other ILL request. Also, I can use this page to track requests that I've already made. In this video, we've examined two ways you can access materials beyond DU's already extensive collections. Prospector is a regional consortium of public and academic libraries. You can search Prospector's catalog and directly request a loan from another Prospector library. The request is fully automated and the loan should arrive within 3 to 5 days. You may keep your Prospector loan for 6 weeks, 1 week for media, with no renewals. Interlibrary loan is the other system we use. It allows you access to library collections globally. ILL requests are mediated through DU, which requests the item from another library on your behalf. ILL can take longer, and the term of an ILL loan varies according to the policy of the lending institution. It should be clear by now that while you are at DU, the library will do all it can to put any material you need in your hands to help you succeed.